Right, well, thank you for joining me today, and we are going to be talking about a subject that's very close to our hearts, floor plans. Not everybody's cup of tea, but something we could probably talk about for a good couple of days, I would imagine.
Yeah, so well, thanks for having me, Adam. This is relatively new to me, but excited to be here. As you said, I'm co-founder and CEO of Sitka. My background really started in industrial design, so sort of creative side of things. And I worked for a company called JCB, the machinery manufacturer. And my more recent role was around UX, UI, some sort of app-related things, some sort of connected technologies-related bits. And then our dear friend COVID hit, and I was made redundant. So found myself scratching my head slightly, and came across a dear friend who is an event organizer, and was just chatting and realizing sort of there were room for improvement in the market. So put my creative hat on and came up with a concept really. So from a background standpoint, I've always been someone who really looks at innovating, picking apart problems, finding solutions. And it's brought us forward to today without giving too much about Sitka, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah. So we do have something in common. We're both industrial design degree holders. That's amazing, and it's an amazing course actually, and really sets you up well for business because it covers all sorts of things: problem solving, design, marketing. So yeah, it's great to have a fellow industrial designer in the industry. I think we need more for sure. So I'll give it.
Yeah, we're a rare breed.
We are indeed. So yeah, quick background about why I talk about floor plans and who I am. I have been in the industry for 23 years. I started off as a floor plan designer, and like many people, you kind of fall into events. You don't tend to choose it, or at least you didn't when I started. But I took a job for a company down in Fleet who provided various different event services, one of them being floor plan design. And I know when I came into the job, it was designing the layouts of exhibitions. And I know for me, I tried to get too creative. I remember sitting down, looking at floor plans and going, God, crikey, that's boring. And immediately wanted to do something fancy with it. And it was only really when I started designing those floor plans with angles and curves and star shapes that when I actually went to mark them out, it was almost impossible, and visitor flow was awful. And it was this evolution of the knowledge of the floor plan that really kind of excited me and really kind of got my kind of design brain going around sort of how can we use design to better influence things like visitor flow, yield, return on investment, etc., etc. And your dear friend as well was very instrumental in that process as well, being one of our first customers. So yeah, that's my background.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I mean, with your experience, how do you feel like floor plans have developed over the years, and sort of what have you seen in terms of technology that's played a big part in shaping that modern event floor plan, if you like?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was seen as a necessary evil to start with. So when I started, it was something that all of the general service contractors were just providing for free. Here you go. Here's a floor plan, and there was no real thought to it. And if you're not charging for it, you can't really fund that department then. So that was a real challenge for me to overcome, was how do we differentiate ourselves when others are providing this service for free? How can you actually get people to value that service? So when I started my business, I made sure that we were charging for it and people valued it, and that we could prove some sort of return on investment, and we did. Really, we went from competing with people that were giving it away for free to actually generating revenue for customers. And we were missing tricks, or organisers were missing tricks. They were happy that their floor plan was free, but they were getting a yield of 50%. So they were only getting a 50% return on investment of the floor space, and we were turning around 60% return on investment. And on a big show that can be millions of pounds. So you're saving yourself 500 quid, but you're costing yourself millions of pounds. So that was really the first innovation, was turning people's mindsets around on what a floor plan can do. And often the only way to start that evolution progress is by showing people the return on linking it to some monetary value. I then kind of really started seeing the benefits of how you can influence people. So designing the layouts to actually try and get people to follow a particular route. So we did a lot of work with Grand Designs Live, and in that instance we actually put the entrance, or we forced the entrance to the midpoint of the show and allowed them to kind of disperse out from the center, so you're already kind of getting the midpoint rather than the entrance. So these are all kind of design related innovations, but we also then moved into app development quite early on, before it kind of really enhanced and evolved. And that was really my first experience of using a floor plan for navigation, and it's moved on vastly from there, really, from the early days of what we were doing. It'd be amazing to hear what you're now doing, and kind of taking that next step on from where we were.
Absolutely, yeah, no. So, I mean, from our side of things, being relatively new to the market over the last, 4 years now, we've seen a bit of change, but I would be pretty bold to say that we've also driven some change ourselves. And I think from a technology standpoint, it sort of started from talking to various customers and hearing a lot of what you were saying, and some of the words and phrases that we heard that definitely sort of triggered me was, why do you do it this way? It's because we've always done it that way. And, we've been burned by something this way. And it seemed very narrow-minded in the sense that they weren't really open to change. And I think
risk-averse, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. Technology should aid you, not really provide more of a headache. And I think that's often not misunderstood, but actually often the fact. People look at it the wrong way. And I think it's a lot of what we've done over the last 4 years has also been correcting people's perhaps scars from previous attempts at this. Whether it was too early in the timeline, I don't know. But from a sort of a floor plan side of things, and you mentioned event apps. Event apps are a bit of a buzzword in our industry and can get people going the wrong way, unfortunately. So we actually call our event app a digital event companion, trying to reshape the way people look at apps. It's supposed to be something that helps you. And I think back to the floor plan piece, that's really at the core of what we do at Sitka, in the sense that I think we believe in a sort of map and compass approach. It's a simplistic tool that can be really useful for everyone involved, whether that be just our primary customer, which is the masses of visitors or attendees. I think with a really fantastic interactive floor plan, with even details down to just a good rendering tool. It's not blurry, the aspect ratios are correct. You can zoom in and really make use of the information that you're presented with. And then our unique bit being the navigation, which I'm sure we'll come on to shortly. I won't spoil too much about that. It's been a combination of technology that actually a floor plan, yes, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff and all the bits that you've done in previous life that from an operational standpoint, organisers need to have to actually execute these events. But in the past, it's been multiple different offerings, lots of different people coming to the table, lots of back and forth, a huge amount of hard work from the behind the scenes people, that I just felt that whole line is because we've always done it that way. It was a fantastic opportunity for someone like you and I to come in and go, okay, hang on, can we review this? Can we try and redesign it, not for the sake of redesigning it, but to make everyone's life easier? So I think, technically speaking, from the way we deliver navigation, we had to build our own floor plan internally anyway, just to handle what we were doing in terms of the clever positioning piece. But the more we've looked at it and the more I've spoken with you as well, we've realized that can be overlaid and used by the organisers. It can be used by exhibitors. It can be used by every party involved. And I think it's only going to improve. We're trying to not declutter for the sake of just getting rid of lots of different parties involved, but trying to make it more streamlined service. And I think it's being aided by hardware, it's being aided by software, and I'm really excited, not only because it's a cool product that we can start to enhance, and between us we're going to be offering a much better product than there was, say, last year. But it also makes our life easier as a supplier that we know that we're looking at a better product than it was 2 years ago. So yeah, vast improvements and lots more to come.
And yeah, I think that's a really good point, because the world of technology moves very fast, and a demo you had last year will be different to a demo you have this year. And I think that's often kind of misunderstood in technology. I think if you see a product that you like, but it doesn't quite meet your needs, you should keep in touch with that technology provider, because in 2 weeks' time, it could do exactly what you need it to do. And that's the beauty of technology, really. So what are your biggest challenges with event organisers and sort of their challenges? What do you see their biggest challenges being in relation to navigation tools? Because I know a number of companies have done it, a number of venues have installed technology, and it's never really quite cut it. So what are you doing to kind of overcome that?
So I mean, in terms of challenges, we've sort of mentioned a couple really. The first challenge for me has always been fixing the stigma that comes around this whole topic. And I think you're right, people have attempted, people have achieved. I'm pretty confident to say that we're the only person who does the entire package of an event application, or digital event companion as we call it, and the navigation and the floor plans all in one place. That doesn't mean we're a one-stop shop for digital in the event industry, but it means that we cover off those touch points in one unit. So that means that, again, that stigma around, usually it's also very expensive. So it's an optional extra that organisers already spend a lot of money to deliver shows, and some have bigger margins than others. So when you start to sacrifice particular, maybe non-essential elements, I would say the floor plan tools are usually, or the navigation tools at least, are the first to go. So that's been a big thing of getting across to users perhaps have looked at it, or organisers have perhaps looked at it in the past, and trying to reconvince them into actually why they need it and how it's not going to cost them extra. So that's one. And then really, I think from a technical standpoint within Sitka's four walls, it started off with the technology. We've now got the technology nailed. You know, we're very happy that operationally it's a very stressful achievement, really. You know, we have to be into the event halls the night before the event. The event has to be pretty much built. We both know that you can put deadlines to close, you know, all your contractors out the night before, but that's never going to get hit. There's always people tweaking and doing things till the early hours. So we're always having to integrate that. But I'm safe to say that our ops team and the dev team have worked incredibly hard on making sure that is absolutely bulletproof. So, and we both know that events happen whether you like it or not, in the sense that if 9 a.m. on the Monday morning of an event opening, if you're not ready, you can't tell all your customers to come back another time and give us a few hours to sort our stuff out. It's happening whether you like it or not. So that's something that we had to be very, very aware of, to make sure we were 100% successful and absolutely bulletproof in that sense. And then from a usability standpoint, as I mentioned earlier, it has to be useful. It has to be intuitive. And I'm safe to say that I did a lot of our first concept design, and as much as I have a degree in it, I'm very happy we now have a full-time design team in-house, because I realized UX, UI was, my old designs have been retired, thankfully. But now it really is a useful tool throughout. Every customer, every persona, every user, they all have a really easy, simple navigation and use case for what we offer. And that there's a piece on that, again, back to the fear of organisers. Some organisers, not all, do look at technology as well as it takes the purity out of the event. It takes that serendipity away. And you know, you're going too technical, and these are face-to-face events. And we all saw through COVID the virtual world definitely didn't perform as people wanted it to. I'm very happy to come back to the face-to-face side of things. But what we're offering here, as much as it sounds very digital focused and you're going to be stuck to your phone, as much as I would take great satisfaction at going to one of our events and seeing every user glued to their phone, navigating around the hall, that's not what it's for. It's also, again, with the design team, we've now built it so you don't need to be glued to it. It's a glanceable format. So yes, we can navigate you across the hall through every wiggly turn that your creative floor plans have resulted in, we're still keeping that serendipity, we're still keeping that randomness, the glanceable nature of events, and that's something that we again are reinforcing with our organisers and saying that don't be scared of technology. It's here to help you, not scare you.
Yeah, I see so many technologies that are complementary to the analog experience, and for me, good navigation is so important. There's nothing worse than getting to a show and not being able to find the people that you need to find. And actually, I think it increases serendipity. If you can navigate a show and see all the people that you have to see, that gives you more time for serendipity and bumping into people. So, yeah, I'm a great believer in technology that assists and doesn't take over.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it's something that I was exposed to before we started the concept. I used to be sent by my old boss to trade shows and exhibitions to look at competitors. He'd give me a list of 10. I'd get over, and they were heavy machinery shows, which are particularly large. I'd never see probably 65% of the people that he wanted me to see, because I was spending all my time worrying where I was and how do I get there and how do I get back on the train or whatever I was doing to get back to the office. So it does free up that space, really. And we're now expanding with venues out of event halls as well. So the likes of parking and the atriums and the foods and the exits, and just further expanding that assistance we can give to each of the customers.
So you can seamlessly navigate between hall and outdoors. That's
the goal. Yeah, that's the goal.
Amazing. So speaking about real world scenarios then, how have you seen your technology enhance the attendee experience, and also what's in it for the organizer? How are they benefiting as well? But yeah, let's start with the attendee.
Yeah, from an attendee standpoint, as much as they're our primary user, really, we've touched on it already, it's best use of time, reducing confusion and just clarity on what they want to achieve in a day. And I suppose I get 50-50 responses when I talk to people about what we do at Sitka. Some go, God, navigation indoors, surely that exists. That's not that special. We all have GPS on our phones. Perhaps they're not the most technically savvy people that do say that, but it's an expectation. And then the other side go, gosh, surely you can't do that. I know, I've been in there, and whether that's what 3 words or whoever it might be, it doesn't show you exactly where you are in a building and whether you have experienced it firsthand at an airport or a shopping centre or in the tube station. So it's something that either some people take for granted or people don't know exist. So I think when you can also link that with the rest of the offerings that a standard event companion or event app for other providers give you, which is lists of exhibitors, just the basic information you need to have when you attend one of these events, it just, as you say, it just relaxes people, I believe. And after we've now had a couple of iterations with the same demographics, so yes, we're doing a wide host of different shows for different organisers, but also doing repeat years with the same organiser and same show has been incredible to see the journey we've gone on and seeing people not needing education anymore. It's just, it happens. People turn up and they're there, they're dialed in. So from the visitor standpoint, it's very simple. It's just maximising that sort of return on time, really. ROT, it's a buzzword in our company. It's something we're really trying to enhance. And then from an organizer standpoint, the data is incredibly powerful. I have to sort of put a distant view on this, in the sense I don't want to say we're tracking every individual, but from a tracking standpoint and a data capture standpoint, we use user groups, all the registration information that is collected anyway for any ticket type. All those questions that ask when you want to attend an event, what are you interested in? What sort of band are you in from a professional standpoint? Are you C-suite? Are you marketing? Are you sales? And then when that data can be filtered from our side, that behavioral data of navigation, the location side of things, X amount of people have walked in and turned right. We can say that actually, if that's 75% of people, we can say to organisers, well, that entrance hall is working firstly particularly well, and those immediate stands are actually quite popular. So maybe there's a premium to be added to those stand costs. And the same goes for every touch point in the event, whether that's seminar theatres, whether that's top performing stands, whether that's dwell times outside of stands. it's incredibly powerful. And I would say from a data standpoint, we have, I suppose it's a lovely problem to have. We have the problem of having so much data, we've got to make it useful. But working back from them, we then do a lot of work with organisers and say, right, what do you want to see? You tell us, what are your key metrics? What are you really trying to find out? Is that visitor flow? Is that top performing food and drink stands? Is that top performing exhibitor stands? Whatever they'd like to see, we have the hard bit done in terms of the permissions and the positioning data, and we've got buy-in from all our visitors to allow us to navigate them around the halls. That's a bit I'll really come on to in a minute, probably a pain point. But yeah, I think it's been incredible, and it's only going to get more useful. Every use case is different, as you'll know. Every event is also different. Every organizer team is different. They're all after different things. Yes, the whole revenue, the monetization piece is pretty common, but everything else around performance of events, it is hugely variable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the data side of things, it was almost a missing piece for me as a designer. We would redesign the floor plan to try and improve visitor flow. But the only way you could really do it was to go to the show and just look to see if people were moving around, but you're only taking a small snapshot of what's actually occurring. If we could have if we had heat maps and to see whether, we estimated that 60% of people turn left and only 40 turn right. So we designed it in that way. But that was someone's assumption based on standing there for 30 minutes, not on a 2-day event. So, I mean,
guesswork, a lot of guesswork, and it's something that, with all the hard work that our team and David and the dev team have done, is around sort of also drilling into specific moments. We can drill into minute by minute, user group by user group. Really, whatever the organizer or the reg team has put in, we can take out. You'll say, if you don't put good stuff in, you won't get good stuff out. It's really trying to go back to maybe your first question you asked around pain points and changing people's views. This is different, just like turning printed catalogs into an event app. You can't just digitalize a PDF. It has to be built from the ground up with an event app in mind. And I think a lot of what we're doing now is just further refining the luxury, which is we're great at capturing data, but again, we're trying to just refine the system, go back through it. And I think linking back to multiple iterations of the same show has helped us massively with a couple of key clients where they have engaged as a whole team. Year one, I think some people were still skeptical. It was quite hard to get the full engagement from every member of the team because it was probably more of a headache than it was good to change systems. That's an age-old problem in our side of things. The annual cycle of events means there's very little time to break and say, right, okay, you're all very comfortable with the way you do things now, but you have to stop that now and learn a new software, learn a new way. But now we've got buy-in. It's only snowballing really from here.
Yeah, I completely agree. So one of the things that was interesting to me was a lot of when we were talking about heat mapping, one of the main reasons organizers wanted to do that was because they wanted to charge their exhibitors more for premium space. And I remember having a conversation with one of the exhibitors and said, look, you're getting a huge amount of attendees going past your stand. Would you want to pay more for the space because of it? And their response was, no, we're not getting the visitors because of the space we're in. We're getting the visitors because we are who they're coming to see. We're generating this footfall. It's not generated by the location. So it was an interesting one for me, and I think it was a bit of a shock to the organizer to hear that as well. But what are the typical pitfalls organizers face when implementing tools and navigation tools specifically?
I'm going to start with something sort of not really linked to technology, but I think something that we've, from an organizer standpoint, that we've not struggled with, but we've really tried to instill confidence in organizers to not do this, is with our digital offering to start with. There's a huge sustainability tick in the sense that everything's digital. You don't need to spend money or as much money on signage, on catalogs, on paper maps, all that whole piece. So I think from a probably bad practice, and it's by no fault of their own, just probably from being burned in the past, we had some customers, everyone thankfully now has switched on to really adopting the digital plan. but they still spend a lot of money of backups and printing and going, we're sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I felt like that was something that we really worked hard on trying to get around and make sure that, look, trust us, we have fail safes that still don't need printing. There's a long way to go before you need to have a printed map. So that kind of general thing, you've got to commit to the digital journey.
Yeah.
And then from a floor plan standpoint, I think it's the data is no longer an issue in terms of the live aspect of what we're displaying in the apps, because we have some fantastic relationship with partners and sort of co-suppliers with organisers like yourself. And we know that at any one time, we have redesigned some aspects of how this works, with webhook single sign-ons, to make sure that whatever data we are showing is always the most up-to-date, regardless of connectivity in the halls. It's very lightweight now, so it's not re-downloads of apps or massive data pools when something changes. It's selective, even down to our floor plans. Something changes, one particular booth changes on a floor plan, we can pull in just that change, not reload the whole floor plan. So in event halls and event spaces, we both know, and everyone who perhaps listens to this will know, that signal and Wi-Fi is not a given. It's a real hit and miss thing. So I think back to that side of things, we have struggled in the past of back and forth of data and panicking and going, something's changed. And in the old days, the catalogue and the floor plans, and you would have told me this, not myself seeing it because I wasn't really in the events industry at that point, but if the catalogue was wrong, it would be wrong for the event. It was printed a week ago, and it's sort of tough, really. You have to deal with that. Whereas our changes can happen live, and some work we're doing together anyway is talking about how we have the technical break in the ops floor plan provided by the contractors, and going to a more lightweight version that also now floor plans can be changed live on the go through our platform, and trying to find that balance. And I think in terms of common mistakes, there's still that view that it has to be done the way it used to be done. We have to have the floor plan designers on speed dial. We have to make sure that everyone changes their own data. We know exactly which platform to go in to edit one particular piece. We've got to educate everyone. And I think we're working back and going, actually, you know what, with either one iteration already run of the show, there's already good education, good FAQs, good documentation, good, communication with everyone who's involved. You can trust the system. So I think the mistakes is not trusting it. And I think that's something we're working very hard on, in building that trust and seeing real returns from that, from the people that have. And I think all we can do is case study this, showcase it, and try and face that back to maybe new customers that aren't on that journey just yet.
And that's a really good point, because I think outside of our industry, there are trailblazers, and EasyJet, for example, probably may not class them as a trailblazer, but what they're doing is forcing you to use the app. If you want to fly, you have to use their app, because that is now your ticket. They're not providing paper tickets, and I believe we should be doing that too. As an industry, I hear occasionally that, what if they don't have a mobile phone? I don't know anybody that doesn't have a mobile phone. And if you're in the world of B2B events, you probably have 2 or 3 phones. That's the reality of it. So really, we need to be starting. We need to trust the technology and get people using it, and make the mobile app or event companion your ticket as well as everything else, because then you're ensuring you're getting people to use it.
So it's such a good point, and we've actually, not to say we've done this, but we are doing this already with customers, and it's something that when I looked at starting the business, I think one of my first ideas, which was shut down very quickly, we were like, oh, we've got a digital thing, we can go badgeless. Now, I think badgeless in our space, especially the B2B world, is not going to happen for a while, because from an exhibitor standpoint, from a visitor standpoint, they like the visual aid of seeing someone's landed there. However, I think adoption rates is something that we bang on, everyone bangs on about, in terms of you have a percentage of your customers, maybe let's say 25 to 35%, perhaps is the industry norm. It was a few years ago. Whether that's still there, it might be slightly higher, but that's a pretty low download rate, considering of the number of people that, as you said, do have smartphones, do attend your events. If you don't have a smartphone going to a business event, for all parties involved, you're not much use, really. You're probably not talking the language of doing business in that current environment. So I think we've done this with a couple of customers now, where you don't get your e-ticket through an email. You have to redeem your badge or your ticket or your pass through the app. We all went through COVID. We all had to have COVID passes. When you go to sports events these days, whether that's Twickenham, whether that's football games, you're expected to have an app downloaded to show your pass or your ticket. So I feel, and we feel like the general demographic are receptive to this now. They don't mind being said that, you need to have this. It means that we do get nearly 100% adoption rates. There is still printing on site. Don't get me wrong. You still can turn up and go, I can register, I can print a lanyard. So maybe we're at, 75, 80%, but that's double what it has been up to now. It does then mean that our adoption rates are through the roof, and then the engagement and the data and everything else that falls behind it is better.
So looking ahead, trends and predictions, what's your prediction for the next big trend in event navigation? And importantly, everyone's talking about it, but AI, how can you utilize AI in shaping the future of floor plans and attendee navigation?
Oh, it's the million or multi-million dollar question. I think from an AI standpoint, it's safe to say our team is quite pragmatic and realistic on the matter. None of us really believe in just having AI for the sake of it. It's got to be useful. So look, we have a lot of interactions in multiple different points, not just Floorplan, where we're using it for predictions and suggestions for individual users. The common one everyone sees is lead suggestions, appointment suggestions, exhibitor and product suggestions based on your information as an attendee or as a user. From a navigation standpoint, the obvious jump is back into route suggestions. We're doing some work anyway around trails or innovation trails that organisers prescribe. But I think from an individual basis as well, not everyone likes being told what to do. So I think we're starting to look at it from that sense. We use it in terms of some data crunching as well, and some just assistance behind the scenes to streamline and reduce the workload really. But I think in terms of trends, AI is one of them for sure, but we see value perhaps in other areas. Enhancements in the hardware. We're doing our own internal development now and developing our own hardware, beacons, the general infrastructure that right now our navigation is limited to just, it's quite a cool piece, but the 3-meter accuracy piece. But I think there's a lot more we're trying to do in terms of getting into stands, the slightly more intelligent side of tracking, regardless of app downloads as well. This the general more innovative and groundbreaking technology use. That's something we're really pushing to do internally as well. And then I think it's also looking to trends and looking to how the industry is changing. Something that we're working on right now, and it's as a result of a tragedy around the Manchester bombings. But Martyn's law that's kind of being circulated around government at the minute is something that we hold dear. I think just like our events app is meant to support, meant to assist, meant to aid all our users, but we want to take that to the next level from a security and safety standpoint as well. We have the hardest bit done, which is knowing where individuals are at a particular point, showing them where to go, making their lives easier. I think from an organizer / probably more of a venue responsibility, there's going to be more, every bit of legislation that comes through, there's businesses that are created, and there's niche products that have to be added. It further complicates that tech stack, perhaps when that responsibility becomes mandatory for organisers and venues to have to execute. So we have that built in already in terms of the ability to show people where to go. And that's something that I won't speak too much about if we want to sort of tease and say, watch this space, but it will be around that responsibility that you can, as a venue, as an organizer, deliver that safety protocol in the event. God forbid something does happen, we can immediately show people to the correct exit, to the correct door, mark on the floor plan where the affected area is, and show people out the door. So I think that's something that I believe is going to be really powerful going forward. It's just another tick box. We've all had to do endless health and safety risk analysis, all those sort of things, which again have been real chores, and that's something that your platform definitely streamlines. It's something that from our side we want to complement that and go that step further.
And I think, yeah, I mean, that this is a really great point to finish on. If we can use AI in floor plans to save lives, then that is a huge win. That's a real valuable practical use of AI. It's a really amazing practical use of a floor plan. So yeah, that's an amazing way to end. Thank you, Will, so much for your insight. I think we've covered so many different topics here, and I think I'll meet up with you in a pub later and we can carry on our conversation unrecorded. But yeah, for any listeners, please do connect with FFAIR. Please do connect with Sitka. Two amazingly innovative products designed and thought out by industrial designers, after all. So yeah, do connect. Do ask us any questions if you've got them. But thank you so much, Will.